Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another installment of the show. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm glad that everybody is here. I'm glad that everybody had a safe weekend. Hopefully, it was positive for everyone and that everyone did productive things and all of that. And I'm glad to see you guys again. So, today on the show, we have a lot of good topics. First, we're going to begin with the whole NASCAR situation and how Bubba Wallace has been treated ever since NASCAR has been going through some different changes that many of the fans is not too excited about. So we're going to go ahead and address that. And then we are also going to talk about the MLB restarting. The Players Association and the MLB has reached an agreement together, and so we're going to go ahead and talk about that situation. And then also we are going to go ahead and jump into something new, something that I would like to talk about more often. And it's about high school sports. High school football is obviously approaching very soon, which usually starts around September-ish. And we're going to talk about the top five high school states in the United States of America. We're going to go ahead and address that because, let's be real, people love high school sports. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you guys would like to comment, I will definitely be able to see it here on YouTube. YouTube, if you comment, I'll be able to see it. Facebook, I have to constantly look at my laptop and kind of check on the comments there. So I got it all covered. So we are going to go ahead and do that, make sure we have everything situated. So let's begin. So we are going to begin with the NASCAR situation. And so we're going to talk about how Bubba Wallace, who is half African American driver, he has been under a lot of tough situations. With the whole NASCAR situation. Now, we all know not too long ago, probably last week, NASCAR has banned Confederate flags at the events now. And let's be 100% real. We all know how NASCAR is. It's like 99% maybe a white sport. Like it has been. Nothing has changed. It's been like that for as long as I can remember. And so he called for the Confederate flags to be banned due to the social injustice that's been going on in America, and also police brutality. And so he's been speaking out about it. And so NASCAR agreed to it. NASCAR agreed to not let the Confederate flags in their events. Now the fans was in an uproar. You know how that goes. They were not happy about that, like at all. So as they was going through trying to adjust to this change, we seen the Confederate flags being flown over. So they found a loophole. Flown across the NASCAR event, so they found a loophole in the rule, of course. And so during the last event, there was a noose that was found in his car garage. And so when he seen the news, NASCAR immediately jumped on trying to investigate what could have been the situation. Now, when you're basically the only black driver in NASCAR, and you find a noose in your car garage, that is alarming. Like that is scary. That is very scary, because it seems like it's you against the world in NASCAR as of right now. It is a scary situation. You probably think nobody has your back, because let's be real, NASCAR is one of those sports that's just, that's built on the Confederate flag. It's a bunch of racist fans. A lot of the events put on there is in the South. Let's be honest. So they love their NASCAR. The fans who are basically are racist people. And so NASCAR immediately investigated the situation. So NASCAR did an excellent job of really going out there and really trying to figure out what's going on behind the whole situation. And so at the end of the day, they found that they say the noose has been there for some time, which is kind of alarming to me, because who wouldn't find a noose for basically half of the year? Since like October it's been there, and nobody has looked into that garage since last October. I find that very hard to believe. I mean, just from my opinion, I think somebody obviously put that there for a reason, and it's very hard to believe that somebody would just leave a noose there, and that has been there for a long time. That is hard to believe. So they did their investigation. They claimed that it's been there. So now NASCAR is trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and that they can prevent many of these things they prevent this to happen again. So I give NASCAR their credit. They acted upon it pretty quickly, and so they did the necessary steps that they had to take to really make sure this doesn't happen again. And also, many other drivers has been supportive of Bubba Wallace, who's been a big key figure in the NASCAR world to speak upon this racist injustice that's been going on for a long time. And he has been the only one. I mean, obviously, I don't think many people in NASCAR would have spoke up about this situation, because it's not much of a NASCAR thing to say, to do. But he has been, and a lot of the drivers have been on his side, which I give them credit for. Some of the NASCAR drivers has really stood up with him, just really been by his side about this protest that he's been doing in the NASCAR world. And I see that there's going to be a lot of changes in NASCAR, because I mean, I think out of all the sports that's out there, I think NASCAR was the one that had a long way to go, because it's not exactly a well diverse sport. So NASCAR has been really stepping forward and trying to talk about more diversity, and really show some steps towards being a little bit more progressive in trying to make change in NASCAR. And hopefully, with this, that we can see more diverse drivers in NASCAR, and that people can feel safe while they're trying to pursue that sport, because I'm pretty sure day in, day out, if you're, a different color in NASCAR, you're going to hear about it. You're going to hear about it. It's different in NASCAR, and you really have to be careful on how you move, of course, doing NASCAR and things of that nature. So we have to apply what Bubba Wallace has been doing for the NASCAR community. This could bring a humongous change in the sport, and seeing that NASCAR has been stepping up. Hopefully that many of the drivers and Bubba Wallace could feel protected as the season continues on, going on, because NASCAR is going on now. It has been a couple of races that's been going on for the past couple of weeks, and so we just hope at the end of the day that he can go ahead and feel protected, make sure he's safe from any crazy fans that might have thoughts of maybe bringing harm to him, and just hope that this situation is over, and that he can just go back to being a driver. I mean, at the end of the day, this is his profession. This is his job. He just wants to drive. He wants to win and really just do what he loves doing, which is driving. And he doesn't have to feel that pressure of, I have to watch my back everywhere I go, because some fan might try to get me just because I asked for a ban for a Confederate flag, and it's not it's not my fault. NASCAR approved of it. It's done and over with. So fans just have to move on, man. I know this is one of those things where it's been in the sport for a long time, and it's something different to them, man. A lot of people wants to say, the Confederate flag means, things to them, but of course, how it means to a person of color. We just see negative images for years, for what, since the beginning of time in America. We have seen those negative images of a Confederate flag. So it's going to be hard for people. I mean, I understand it is, but look, it what's done is done, and we can't. It's time for a change, and I applaud NASCAR. I applaud the drivers who's been on side that brought upon change and really listen to what Bubba Wallace had to say. And unfortunately, it had to be a noose in his car garage, but like I said, just hopefully at the end of the day, he can just go ahead and continue on, just being a driver, just being continuously safe in his in the rest of the season. So we have to thank Bubba Wallace for what he's done in the NASCAR world. So that's basically we're gonna wrap that up for the NASCAR segment. Excuse me. And so, like I said, if you want to go ahead and talk about it, I have the Facebook up as always. You can go ahead and comment there, and I'll see it on my laptop right here. But if you also want to comment right here on YouTube as well, I'll be able to see here, and I can highlight it on the spot below, and we can go ahead and talk about that. So let's go ahead and continue on to the MLB. The MLB is finally making their return. It was a bumpy road for the MLB trying to restart their season. The Players Association and the MLB really had to come together, sides to really get this together. So basically, whoa, 1 second. Let me go ahead and get the MLB up. I'm not talking about NASCAR anymore. So basically, with the MLB returning, players can return to training camp on July 1st, which is coming up really soon. And they can go back, go ahead and train with their team. And then the season will start out of July. Opening day will either be July 23rd or 24th. They're still trying to figure all that out right now, but right now that's the timetable that they have for opening day. So basically the season is only 60 games, and that is a humongous drop off, which is baseball season is 162 games. Baseball season drags on forever. So we basically already lost about almost 4 months, April, May, June, well, 2 months. I mean, they start late April and then go to June. So that's already 2 months off the season. And then when they start, it's basically going to be 3 months because they're starting late July, right? So that's a huge dropout. So they're only playing 60 games this year, which is huge, which is way different, right? That's so different. So basically what they're going to do this year, they're going to play 60 games. And so what they're going to do is they're going to play their teams are going to play their division games 10 times. So they have the 4 division games, and then they play their 4 teams in their division, whoever's playing. So it's basically 5 teams in their division. So they're playing each other 10 times, correct? And then they're going to play interleague games in their geographical region. So basically, let's say we have the New York teams. So basically, they're just going to be playing teams like Boston. Well, Boston's in their division. Let me go back. The Mets. They'll play the Mets, right? They'll play the Mets. That's the interleague play that they will have. They'll play the Mets. Teams in their division, so they're not going really far to play other teams, so they can avoid possibly getting the coronavirus. So basically, also, so just say like LA teams, they play their divisional games. Then maybe play the Angels, who's pretty much right across the street, and also maybe the Athletics, the Oakland A's, and maybe Seattle, teams who's not basically across the United States. So they won't do that. Baseball will not do that this year, so we can avoid coronavirus. And they will get tested a lot during the season. I believe it's every other day, and that's a lot, man. I would hate to have to do that every other day, getting tested. Oh man, that is a lot. So that's what they're doing. So basically, they're going to have also it's going to be a couple of rule changes that we're not used to seeing. So one of the biggest changes that will be made is the National League is going to have a designated hitter this year. Now, anybody who's watched baseball knows the designated hitter is usually an American League thing, and the National League uses pitchers in that ninth spot to hit. So it's different this year. This year, the NL will be using a designated hitter for the ninth spot or wherever you put him. You don't have to put him in a ninth spot, but they're using a designated hitter, so no pitchers are going to hit this year, which is interesting. Now, we know the NL is usually known more for power. So just think of those power hitting teams this year trying to who's get that chance. You don't even have the pitcher to hit this year. So you get more opportunities to get more runs. That is amazing. Let me fix my camera because it looks like not clear to me right now. But anyway, you can have that luxury of not having a pitcher. You just have hitters galore. I know National League pitchers hate this because usually the pitcher is an easy out. So that's going to be interesting for the NL to adapt to that change. And so another big rule that is being implemented this year is if you go into extra innings, you automatically have a base runner on second base for extra innings this year. Now that is another interesting rule. You basically have a run right there. So all you need to do is hit a single and you can end the game. Well, I mean, for if you're the home team, you get another shot, but for baseball, but that's another big change that's happening in baseball. So this is going to be different. It's going to be very different, and I'm excited to really see how that's all going to unfold. So with the season starting soon, basically in less than a month, we have a couple of teams who are, obviously favorites to win. So according to ESPN, the Dodgers are one of the teams who they say who's going to represent the National League to make the World Series. We're going to represent the National League for the World Series, which I could see. They added Mookie Betts, who is a superstar from Boston. They added David Price so they can add depth to that starting rotation. But gosh, we all know how the Dodgers get when they get into the playoffs, man. Unfortunately, they was cheated out of some World Series. But last year was a humongous disappointment because they played well throughout the whole season just to lose to the eventual World Series champions last year in Washington Nationals. And that was disappointing. So maybe with the addition of Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger is still there. You still have Clayton Kershaw, who's still one of the best pitchers in the MLB. Maybe they can get over the hump and finally win the World Series this year. You never know. And then we also have the AL, the American League. We have who the highest odds for the American League is the Yankees. We all know the Yankees, man. They're a power lineup from top to bottom. Whenever you have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton on the same team, and they're both healthy this year coming into the new season, and then you add Garrett Cole, who's a stud pitcher for the Astros, it could be a good run for the Yankees. Unfortunately, the Yankees was a victim of cheating too, so they could have made it to the World Series not too long ago. So we have to look out for the Yankees in the American League, and then we also have the Astros, who still have a high odds, but man, are they going to be drugged the whole year? Because we all know who's paying attention to baseball, how they cheated out. They cheated to win the World Series in 2017, right? They knew all the pitches the Dodgers was going to throw. They knew a lot of information that they needed to win. Now, of course, you still have to go out there and execute. Even if you cheat, you still got to hit the ball, right? But boy, did they hit it! Oh my goodness, they was going nuts. I kind of knew something was weird was going on because, when I had the chance to watch, when I had the chance to watch the World Series when I was going to school at the time, and of course I was in San Francisco State, and that's Giants territory, and you know how the Giants Dodgers rivalry goes, so they do not like each other, so. It was interesting to see how Yu Darvish who was pitching for the Dodgers in the World Series at the time. He was traded that year. He was getting ran both of his games that he played in the World Series. Now, don't get me wrong, that was an excellent series. That was an excellent series in 2017. But man, when Yu Darvish was getting destroyed the whole year, something was fishy. And then it all just came out into the open that the Astros was cheating. So now they have to deal with that all season. And bless their hearts that they have a shortened season, because imagine going 162 games of just constant booing, calling you a cheater, just 162 games of that. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going through that all season. So just just be on the lookout for the Astros. We have other teams who still kind of under the radar. There's the Minnesota Twins, who's constantly good. They play great baseball, but nobody really pays attention to them because that's a little small market. Nobody really cares much about Minnesota baseball. With the Nationals, they could slip back, try to get back into the World Series, defend their title. It's going to be hard because they lost Rendon to the Angels this year, so the Angels might be a lot better. They still have Mike Trout, who's an absolute monster, and now they have Rendon there, so the Astros could make a big move. You never know. The Oakland Athletics could be up there. They have a stadium all to themselves now, so they don't have to worry about the Raiders taking up their space anymore. It's just smooth baseball throughout the whole year. You don't have to worry about the cleats getting chewed up all throughout the whole field. Just baseball. It's just all to themselves now. So there's a lot of teams. You never know. It might be a surprise team or two. It's baseball. You never know. So we're just glad to see some type of progress being made now with sports. I mean, it seems like July is going to be a great time, and it's different. It's different to me. Like, think about it. At this point, basketball will be over, right? Basketball is done and over with, and we have the little period where it's just baseball and soccer. So now that basketball is coming back, this is going to lead all the way into football season, which starts in September. So it's just like sports is just going to continuously go. And then we have baseball, it's probably still going to end in October. That's going to stay the same. So then like I said, then when October's done, it's basically football. And then basketball probably won't start until next December. They'll start their season and then go until whenever, God knows when they'll go into. But this is different. I'd never seen anything like this, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. This is new. So I'm excited to see how baseball unfolds. It's going to be a lovely season, and we're going to see when it gets down to it, to the World baseball, the playoffs and the World Series, that we're going to see which teams step up when it's shortened season. and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm definitely all for it. So that's gonna be the end of my the baseball segment. Um, like I said, like always, if you have questions or comments, you can go ahead and say them right there, and I could put it on the screen, and we can go ahead and talk about it. And yeah, I love to interact with you guys and get your thoughts on, maybe your favorite teams in baseball, how you feel about their season, and how you feel about their season. We can talk about basketball and how you feel about your favorite team going into the basketball restart in Orlando, or even if your team is there. If not, then we can talk about maybe the off season, one of the two. We can go ahead and speak on that. So go ahead and comment. I'd love to talk to you guys. So let's continue on to our last segment, which is high school football. So high school football is usually one of those, topics not too many, higher up sports would like to talk about. But we all love high school football. It's a little bit, a little bit more personal, because it's our hometowns, it's our communities. We all love to sit around and watch watch the local high schools play, and it's a big deal for a lot of people. Excuse me. I know for a fact that I enjoy it. It's all different when it's this. We know that rivalry week is coming up, and we all show up for those rival games, those high school rival games, right? I know, living where I'm from, you show up to the Bell game. The Bell game is obviously it's the biggest games in my city for sure, where I say hundreds of people show up, hundreds and hundreds of people show up to that every year. And it's just one of those games. It's like I said, it's personal. You have one side of the city voting for a school. You had the other side of the city voting for the other school. You show up that one night, it's just an amazing, amazing thing to see. And that happens everywhere. It's not even here. That's everywhere. Showing up to rival schools. So what I had in mind for this segment is we're going to talk about the top five states where they appreciate high school football just a little bit more. We're also going to talk about, a lot of the talent that comes out of high school in their state. So there's a lot of great players in high school. Let's be real. It's amazing. A lot of the talent that is out there and that they put on display. So let's go ahead and get into that. And you can also comment. So I'm gonna leave that up there. So let's continue. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my number 5 state, and I'm going to start with Louisiana. I believe Louisiana. This was a tough one. I think it's like a number 5A and number 5B between Georgia and Louisiana, but I think Louisiana is a little bit better because they produce a lot of great talent in Louisiana. And you really don't know that they produce a lot of talent because they are an overlooked state a lot of the times, because it's Louisiana. It's not much going on out there. It's very slow pace. It's it's just not much going on in Louisiana. So nobody really thinks about how Louisiana plays football. And man, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos of these Louisiana high schools playing each other, and it's a lot of smash mouth football going on in Louisiana. They play football out there. They hit. They love to hit, and it's a good thing. And let's think about it. A lot of the players end up going to a lot of Louisiana schools, and we all know LSU has been a top tier school for many years, and a lot of these players really don't want to leave their hometown. They want to see their families come and play in the big schools, play at the big schools. So I think Louisiana is one of those schools that one of those states that schools that's overlooked. They have a lot of high end players over there at Louisiana, and they do a lot of good things out there. So number 5 is Louisiana. So then we're going to go ahead and go to number 4, which is Alabama. Alabama is another southern state that produces a lot of talent. And I mean, it's some big dudes out there in Alabama. You would think these high school players is already in college, how big these guys are. We're talking about 6'5", 6'6" dudes. We're talking about offensive linemen who's 6'7", like 300 pounds, just pure muscle, moving people around. And we have linebackers who's built like brick houses. It's some tough people in Alabama, and it's no secret right Alabama is for. Let's look at the University of Alabama, right? The University of Alabama never has to leave their own state. Never have to leave their own state to find talent. And when you don't have to do that, that's amazing. So you look at this. You get talent from your own state, and then you go out and then you find talent across the world who wants to play for University of Alabama. Because let's be 100. Nick Saban is an excellent recruiter and an excellent coach. They're not number 1 every year for no reason. Who's competing for national championships every year for no reason. University of Alabama is a top tier school. So with them being a top tier school, they're getting all the top talents in Alabama. Of course, why would they want to leave when you know you're going to get playing time? You know you're going to get some recognition because you're going to be on TV every week. National TV at that, because the SEC constantly gets TV time on ESPN. They have a partnership with them, right? So why leave Alabama? You have all the talent in the world in Alabama. Alabama has great high school football programs. There's no reason to leave the city at all. So Alabama is one of those schools one of those states, that are again overlooked, however you want to say it. They produce players every year who's amazing. It's just how it goes. So Alabama is definitely a great football state, and they are worthy for that number 4 spot. Now, number 3, I would have to say California. California is a great football state. Now, typically, California has a lot of faster players coming out of high school. a lot of fast 4.2, 4.3 speed guy wide receivers, fast running backs who are typically smaller, and that's hard to find when they get into the hole because they're usually smaller guys. So California is known for a lot of faster players. And typically California has a lot of number one ranked schools. I'll say this. California is very top heavy. They're top heavy. There's basically maybe 3 or 4 schools that's really good. And me being from California, I know who they are. St. John Bosco, who's typically a number one ranked school in the world. St. John Bosco has tough players, tough, fast players. Their quarterback, I can't remember his name for the life of me. It's a tough name. He's headed to Clemson. He's going to play for Clemson and ball out there. I'm pretty sure. Well, I know for a fact he has to sit out at least 1 year because they have Trevor Lawrence there, who's by far, unless he has like one of the stinkiest seasons of his life this year, he will be the number one pick in the NFL draft coming up next year. So the quarterback from St. John Bosco is going to Clemson. Mater Dei, who's another, normally number one ranked school in the world. Bryce Young, he's the quarterback from Mater Dei this year. He originally committed to USC, then he decommitted and he committed to Alabama. So he's also going to a SEC school. And he's probably going to sit out a year as well because Alabama has a pretty stable quarterback this year. But when his chance comes, he's going to be a top quarterback. He's going to be somebody who's going to ball hard, and he did it this year for sure. Centennial of Corona is usually a top 10 school. They always year after year finds amazing players that plays hard, and it's one of those schools nobody really thinks about because they're a IE school in the Empire School. They're not a Los Angeles school, so they just constantly win and just go about their business, right? They just get wins out there in Centennial Corona. We have other like lower end schools who's usually plays hard. Rancho Cucamonga is a pretty decent school. Another school out of the Inner Empire, they play very well. Other schools like Narbonne, that's a good school. Typically they have great schools in California, so I appreciate that, Patrick. Thanks for coming to the show. Yeah, so typically California has those faster players. Now look, a lot of schools, a lot of top colleges in around the world try to come to California and get those players to leave their schools, leave town. Excuse me. They will find. They will fly to California to get them to leave town and play for their school. SEC schools typically do that a lot. Like I said, they have 2 top quarterbacks from California playing in the SEC next year, playing for Alabama and playing for Clemson, because we all know SEC gets the money, gets those faces out there to get to the NFL. And then other schools like Washington, schools from Oregon usually gets players who maybe don't have a chance to go to a bigger school, and they could develop their skills and become a top player. Because normally we all know the top players who are going to high school, they either go to USC or UCLA. Those are the top two football schools in California. So those players who might not get those playing time that the star players get, either they go to Utah or they go to UNLV. UNLV gets a lot of those overlooked players, and they ball out for those schools. And a lot of those big school California schools miss out. And also we got those North Cal schools, the Cal Berkeleys, who's a big school, and Stanford's typically a football powerhouse, but it's hard to get into Stanford. I cannot lie to you. I mean, unless you're playing amazing football, it's hard to get into Stanford because people normally just don't go to Stanford just to go to Stanford. So California is definitely the third on our list. And then we're going to continue on to the number 2 school, state. Excuse me, I keep saying school. I don't know why. The number 2 state for high school football, which is Florida. And I say Florida. I don't know what they put in that Florida water, but those some big boys as well out there in Florida, and they play football out there. They like to hit. They like to do crazy things out there in Florida. Florida has some big players, and they typically bring out great talent in Florida who normally goes to the NFL. And we can see that from firsthand. We look at those college teams, the Florida states, amazing schools. We also overlook them HBCUs that gets those players overlooked. The FAMUs, the Florida A&Ms, Bethune-Cookman, they get those players too. They like to play. They like to play in Florida. So we overlook all those schools. And gosh, man, Florida, yeah, Fred, that's true. The Miami Hurricanes has been an amazing school playing football these past couple of seasons. And they got the swagger to them. They got the turnover chain. They've been having swagger in Miami since the 80s. And we all know about those those Hurricane teams back in the day. Oh my gosh. Top 3 football school. And they don't even have to leave the state. They're just right there. They're just getting recruits from their own backyard. Not even leaving their hometown, just right across the street going to the school. And a bunch of exactly coming out from Miami. Florida is an amazing football powerhouse school. They have amazing talent. Like I said, those some big kids out there. High school, you already 6'5". What are they feeding you? What are they feeding you in Florida? Where are they feeding you? It's something special in that Florida water. I don't know what it is. But these kids are humongous. Every year, it's just amazing. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of Florida players playing each other. You would think they're in like a gladiator battle every time they take the field. It's just amazing. And they have so much talent that Florida produces every year, and I'm all for it. If other schools can get those Florida talents to play for them, look, I'll take it. I'll take it. As for a California school, you get some of that Florida swagger over there from being from California. You get some of that Florida swagger out here in the West Coast. I'll take it. I'll take it. So Florida definitely gets that number 2 spot. I like what they do out there. They do amazing things. They get all my love out there. So we are going to continue on to the number 1 school. I'd say it again. Forgive me. I should have like a jar that has every time I mess up. The number 1 state of high school football is Texas. Texas. They love their high school football in Texas. Absolutely. Texas. Everybody heard the term Friday Night Lights. Texas pretty much trademarked that saying, Friday Night Lights. Texas is number 1 by far for high school football. You would think that they were going to an NFL game every Friday in Texas. Like, they literally shut down businesses. They shut down businesses just to go to their local high school football game. And we're talking about the smallest town in probably all of Texas, shutting down all their businesses, going to the high school football game, closing early, going to the high school football game, just to go to the game. And don't get me started going to a rivalry game. Oh my gosh, people will literally tailgate at a high school game in Texas. Tailgate. You would think that's a Dallas Cowboys game or a Houston Texans game. It's a high school game. High school. Texas love their football. And like I said this is like a reoccurring theme, but it's some big dudes in Texas too. Cornbread fed. We talking about big dudes who just throw hay bales everywhere. That's all I think they do. I cannot lie to you. That I think that's what they do. Just throw hay bales and just get big and just work around their farm. And then when they get to school, they just lift weights. Those players are humongous out there. And I have seen Texas football firsthand. I was going to school in Texas. It wasn't a big city at all when I was going to school out there in Texas. So I was just trying to figure out, I was trying to learn the city. And I was like, shoot, I might as well go to a football game, right? So me and a bunch of my friends who were from Texas, I told them, I was like, hey, I'm going to this football game. You guys trying to go? They was like, yeah, sure. So they was casual. They was just like, oh yeah, we'll just go. So I told them who they was playing. And in Texas, one of the top teams out there is the Carter Cowboys. And Carter is a predominantly African American high school. So I told them, the school is playing. They're playing Carter. Their eyes literally lit up like deer in headlights. Their eyes lit up. They was like, "Oh, we're going to that game. We are going to that game." Hey, Samantha, how you doing? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming out. So yeah, they're their eyes lit up like deer in headlights. They was like, we're going to that game, no question about it. Like they literally, their calm demeanor just shot up like adrenaline or something. It was like, oh, we're going to that game. So this is probably a Wednesday. So we go to the game. It was like walking distance from our campus. Our school was really small. Our school was really small. It was so small that basically almost the whole college campus went to a high school football game. Oh my goodness. So we went up there. You thought they was having a party before the game. We got up there, everybody was there. So we get into the stands packed out, right? So supposedly Carter was supposed to drag the team that the city we was going at, their local team. And so it was a great game, to be honest with you. It was a great game. Those people were yelling, screaming, lights was going off, bands was going nuts. The bands in Texas, do not get me started. You would think they was like a college band. These kids is in high school playing like great music. They love their band in Texas. What? It is a whole show out there. I was amazed. I was like, this has to be one of the greatest experiences I had. I texted my parents, was like, look, I've never seen anything like this. This is amazing. Texas football is amazing. And then when you get into the high school playoffs, it's even more crazier. We're talking about thousands of fans just at a high school playoff game in Texas. It's absolutely amazing. I was all for that. So for my experience seeing that firsthand, seeing how Texas football operated, it was amazing. It was amazing, and it only gets better in college because I had the chance to go to the State Fair Classic when I was going to school in Texas, which is two top historically black colleges and universities, which is Grambling State and Prairie View. Grambling State from Louisiana and Prairie View A&M from Houston, Texas. And I was talking about those bands, man. Bands get even better in Texas football when they get to college. So it's just a whole production out there. It's just lovely. So Texas definitely gets my number one spot. So that's my top five. This go back if anybody misses. So Louisiana came in top 5 states. Louisiana came in fifth. Alabama came in 4th. California came in 3rd place. Florida came into the 2nd spot, and then Texas came in the number 1 spot. So that's my top 5 high school football states who produce the best talent and who has the biggest fans who love their football. So this pretty much I'm going to go ahead get ready to wrap it up. I basically have 1 more minute, so I just want to thank everybody who basically came out to the stream and commented, who's followed, who subscribed. I appreciate Ariana, that's my auntie. She subscribed to me earlier before the show started, so I appreciate her. I would appreciate if everybody did subscribe to my YouTube. My link is in my bio. I appreciate you, Fred, for coming and commenting. Patrick, Samantha, I thank all you guys for coming in. So we're definitely going to be back next week. Talk about some more great things. It's it's kind of hard to find topics because there's no sports going on, but we're making it work. And when sports do start up again, hopefully I can expand the show from 1 hour to 2 hours, and I hope to have more guests on. I plan to have guests on as well, so I'm going to go ahead and see who's willing to come on the show. We can go ahead and do an interview, and yeah, there's been big plans going on. So again, I want to thank you for everybody who showed up, and I will be back again same time, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, and I will see you then. All right, see you later.